Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
All right. Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. My name is David Van Hucklum, CEO and founder of Krow Software. Thank you for joining the webcast today on a preview of the upcoming Summer 18 release of Krow Professional Services Automation. Let's go ahead and get started. For those that are new to Krow, what is Krow and what do we do? Well, we like to think of it as what Salesforce is to sales, Krow is to service or professional services. So while Salesforce manages the sales side, sales, marketing, support, commerce, communities for customers, Krow manages post-sales activities such as managing billable projects, resources, time and expense, billing, all 100% native on the Salesforce platform. If you're not a Salesforce customer, you can continue to use Krow as a standalone application. Of course, for those customers that are using Salesforce CRM today, we're all on the same platform, native on the same platform with significant benefits that we'll see today. Krow offers a unified platform for services, eliminating the need for siloed systems that you might be using today. We offer a single, unified solution for professional services automation, again, built 100% native on the Salesforce platform. Everything from managing your customers, managing your statement of works and proposals, or services CPQ as we call it, managing projects and task management, resource planning and staffing, through to time and expense management, project accounting, billing, revenue recognition, and customer and partner communities, all built native on the Salesforce platform. We offer a simple and intuitive user experience. It's easy to use, it's easy to adopt, and it's optimized for Salesforce Lightning. For those on the call that are Salesforce customers and are thinking about or maybe have already made the move to Salesforce Lightning, Krow also supports Salesforce Classic, and you can use both of them in combination. We're partner integrated, so a key value proposition for our customers is we provide seamless integration to financial applications as well as productivity applications such as Slack and Jira that I'm going to be showcasing today as part of the enhancements we've delivered with the Summer 18 release. So if your organization uses a financial application such as Sage or QuickBooks Online or on-premise, NetSuite, Xero, Accounting Seed, we offer pre-built real-time integration to those vendors, as well as if you use Slack or Jira, even Zendesk for support. We could talk a little bit about Google and email today as well. Again, seamless integration with Krow. And we don't license for these applications or these features, if you will. They are a standard part of Krow Psa. And I'm happy to say that Krow is really seeing a lot of customer success, and high growth firms worldwide are choosing Krow to manage their professional services automation or professional services business, whether it be software firms and their PS teams and software firms, management consulting, IT consulting, digital agencies, even healthcare organizations, marketing agencies, and so forth, using Krow to manage their services business. And of course, you don't need to take my word for it. Some great proven customer satisfaction. We've got great customers we're very proud of. And you can see some of those customer reviews on sites such as G2 Crowd, as well as on the Salesforce App Exchange. Look for Krow or Krow Psa. So let's get started and talk about Summer 18. Before we do so, Krow has moved to a quarterly release cycle. And before we talk about Summer 18, I'm going to be spending the majority of the time today showing you a live demonstration of what's coming in Summer 18. But before we do so, let's talk just very quickly about some recent innovations that we delivered in Q1 of this year. So we've continued our rapid pace of innovation, really delivering the most innovative PSA application available today. You can see a number of these innovations that we've delivered in Q1, such as we delivered a new CPQ, or proposals and contracts module, that we've continued to enhance in the Summer 18 release, and I'll be showing you that today. We delivered enhancements around project hours burn reporting, a number of enhancements in the area of expenses, such as merchant handling, files, or the ability to upload files and receipts even from a mobile device, importing expenses from third-party expense systems. Around billing, we delivered billing translation, we deliver the ability to manage multiple tax rates, a second tax as an example, a new project forecasting module. And then we continued our enhancements around our integrations, as you can see here. So Xero, we now have expense integration, multi-company support for Xero. We enhanced Intact, Sage Financials, and on the right side, we delivered a new accounting integration with Accounting Seed that's also native on the Salesforce platform. So we delivered a substantial number of enhancements in Q1, and we're going to continue that pace of innovation through to the Summer 18 release. And we're really focused on customer-driven innovation, meaning that depending on the quarter, upwards of 80–90% of our enhancements that we will deliver in any release are directly from enhancement requests that have been delivered or requested by our customers. So let's go ahead and look at what we're going to be delivering at the end of June this month, which is the Summer 18 release, the Q2 Summer 18 release for Krow Psa. We, again, continue a rapid pace of innovation, and as you can see here, and I'm going to be showing a lot of this to you in the demonstration today, we have really focused on delivering a lot of key enhancements that our customers have requested, as well as some really new features, so our customers can manage their services business and really increase profitability, utilization, overall margin for their projects, and at the end of the day, really drive customer success for your customers, and that's really what we're focused on. So a number of items that I'll mention now, and then I'm going to be showcasing in today's demonstration. So we delivered a new cloning wizard when cloning projects, creating new projects from templates. We delivered a new concept called relative start days for easy creation of projects or importing of projects, and I'm going to be showing that today. Recalculating hours directly from the project instead of having to go to Krow Utilities. A lot of enhancements around the Gantt, drag and drop on Gantt, task owner inline editing, predecessors enhancements I'll be showing today. We've made some changes to how my work and the default homepage works for managing tasks. A number of enhancements around timesheets and my timesheet, project task field length settings, scheduled actual variance right on the timesheet, copy from task schedule right on the timesheet, sort the timesheet by alpha name on the project, read only for billable flag, collapsing tasks by default when selecting tasks within a project. We also have a new share button on the timesheet, which I won't be showing today in the demonstration, but for those existing Krow customers on the call, if you are sharing from an approval process those timesheets for approval to the manager or delegates and so forth, and you've made some changes after the timesheet's been created, you can just click a button and update that sharing on the timesheet so approval process will continue. I'm really excited, and I'll be showing today we've included 2 new types of billing within Krow in the summer release, percentage complete and retainer billing, and I'm going to be walking through that in the demonstration. Enhancements around invoicing as well, including now invoicing discounting, invoicing and how we optimize and or calculate due dates and pass that through to Xero and QuickBooks as an example. I won't be showing in the demonstration today, but we now have account code mapping at a task level that can be sent over to QuickBooks or Xero. Again, for those customers that use QuickBooks on the call, referring to items in QuickBooks. So before we had account code mapping of financial accounts, as an example, at the billing level or at the product level or at the expense type level and so forth. So now we can go right down to the task level. Enhancements around resource planning, Jira, Slack I'm going to be showing today, proposals in the treatment of milestone and expenses. So a significant number of enhancements that we're delivering, and I'm excited to show you today within the Summer 18 release. And then finally, new reports, which I know a lot of our customers have been waiting for. So we're delivering 10 new reports around utilization, around forecasting, revenue forecasting that we delivered, around timesheets and missing timesheets processes, resource supply and demand, So a number of different reports that we're going to be delivering with the Summer 18 release as well. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. So I'm just going to switch over to my demo environment. Okay, so hopefully everyone can see the screen in front of them. So I'm going to be talking about and demonstrating a number of enhancements and features that we're delivering in Summer 18 release in no particular order. So we'll be navigating and showing different features and functions across the application, not necessarily a flow from start to finish. All right. So the first thing I wanted to talk about quickly was for those that have seen or might be utilizing something that we delivered in Q1, actually not part of the summer release, which is our what we call our Timesheet Anywhere, or the global action for timesheet management or entry. And the reason I'm talking about that is we've enhanced that within the Summer 18 release, and I'm going to be showing you that today too. So I'm on my Projects page. I could be anywhere in the application, even in Salesforce, and from anywhere I can just click this enter time global action, and if you can see in the bottom right hand side here, it opens up this little pop-up where I can go ahead and I can enter time just like I would from my timesheet or from my mobile device right from here, and I can go ahead and just save that time right from here, and it's going to show up on my timesheet later for submission as an example and for approval processing. So that's the timesheet global action, as we call it, available from anywhere in the application for simple time entry or quick time entry, even from a mobile device. And that was delivered in Q1, but we've enhanced that with the summer release. And what I'm going to show now is how that can be integrated or interact with email directly. And I'm showing this from Gmail today. It could also be Outlook as well. And it utilizes the Salesforce Gmail or Outlook plugin. So here in my example, I'm on email. And maybe I forgot, based on an email that I've received, that I want to enter some quick time against a particular project that I'm working on. So for those that have activated this email plugin, I can just click on it here. And the first thing that you're going to see in the right-hand panel is I can now expose my time entry component, that action, if you will, right from the plugin. So here I've just opened it up, and now I can go ahead and enter time, just like I did in that plugin, right? And save my time against a project task and so forth right from email without having to log in separately into the Krow interface, if you will. So that's one of the enhancements that we're going to be delivering in the Summer 18 release. And before I go further, this functionality is standard, so not part of the Summer 18 release, but for those that haven't seen this before, I thought I'd mention, because it is a hot request from a lot of our customers, which is one of the other things that you can do is, as an example, if I receive an email, or maybe I'm composing an email, I'm going to compose an email, and in my example, to one of my counterparts at Krow, Ralph. And when I open up my side panel, the first thing you'll notice is the system is smart enough to know that I'm emailing Ralph. And if I wanted to add this email automatically to his contact record, I can do that right here by just clicking this button. And you can see here, this email will be related to all the people records on this email directly. Okay. But what I'd like to do in this case is I'm sending an email to Ralph, and Ralph is part of a particular implementation, such as my Quick Start implementation. This is now a Krow project. And I can just look up the project and do the same thing. So now I'm just clicking on this button, and this email, when I send it to Ralph, is going to be automatically associated in Krow right to this project record. Right? So you can do this across any record in Krow. In addition, if you've received an email from a client, you can also forward it, and you can forward it in, again, by clicking on the particular project as an example that client or email is associated with, and it will automatically be associated right to the record, whether it be the project, the task, the client, or the account, and so on. So that's an example of time entry directly from email, the same action exposed through the email integration component with Salesforce. So that's the first enhancement. So let's just close this down. All right, so now on to a next enhancement. I'm on my project page again, and I'm on a particular project, the client project, as you can see here. All right, so same interface in managing projects and seeing the embedded analytics of where we are with this project, percentage complete, hours, billable or burn rate margin, and so forth. So what we've done in the Summer 18 release is we've included a new link or tab, if you will, called Timeline. And this can be activated or deactivated in your organization. So it's completely up to you if you want to utilize this functionality. But if I click on Timeline here, what it's going to show me in descending order based on date of almost everything that has occurred or happened with this project over time. All right. So as an example, I can see here things like the project health has changed for this project. Task status was changed. Total logged hours exceeded the estimated hours that I had for this particular task. A project note was added. Project assignment was added. If I scroll down, I can see more. Project issue was added. Project risk was added, and so forth. Furthermore, I can open these up and get a little bit more detail about these, who it was changed by, what was the old value and the new value. Of course, I can see the date here descending of the most recent changes that have taken place within this particular project. For those existing Krow customers on the call, project health is now a new field on a project with values green, yellow, red. So you can manage not just the project status, but the project health and how you have seen over time how this has changed. Okay. So if I look at, as an example, task status change, I can get more detail on what was the old status versus the new status, who it was changed by, total logged hours that have exceeded hours, so I can see the logged hours versus what we estimated on this task. Project note was added, so I can see that. Information on a project assignment that was added to this project, and so forth. So that is the timeline. It is updated in real time as changes are occurring against this particular project. And as I stated, you can turn this on. It is off by default when you get the new release in your environment. And furthermore, all of this data is actually saving in a new record, project timeline record, so it is completely reportable. As well as, because it's in a record, you can set up any notifications that you want. Whenever these are triggered, you can send a notification to the appropriate person or project manager or whoever you wish as these timeline changes take effect. So that is the timeline feature. Moving along, the next thing that I wanted to talk about in today's demonstration is some of the enhancements around proposals. So what we've done in our proposal management module, so this is where you can create proposals from projects. You can import project data to automatically create proposal lines as a starting point. You can also import from opportunities. You can manually, of course, create proposal lines. Something that we delivered in Q1 is the ability to add products from opportunity, products and price books for those that are using Salesforce, and add those to the proposal lines and even sync back to the opportunity. So what we had previous to this release is the ability to create proposal lines either by hours, so which will represent hours or time entry hours, right, that you're proposing for this particular project, including bill rates and roles and so forth. So each line would represent, such as a project manager with a bill rate and a default cost rate. In this example, is a consultant and what are my estimated hours for this project and so forth. And I had fixed fee components. So those fixed fee components might be a fixed fee asset or stock that needed to be added to that particular project. And our contract and proposals, or proposals in this example, already supported, even prior to this release, the ability to add discounting and markup overall in the proposal or on an individual line item. The enhancement with the Summer 18 release is we've included two more units, expense and milestone. So now what you can do is you can create a proposal line where this is going to be represented as a milestone. And the uniqueness here, the feature here, is that if you automatically synchronize to a project or you create a project directly from a proposal, it will create a milestone task for those proposal lines designated as a milestone using the revenue amount as the milestone payment amount that will eventually be paid out through to the invoice. So a actual milestone within the project that can be automatically created from proposals and or from contracts as well, which is another area as part of our overall CPQ, is to create contracts from proposals. The other enhancement is around expenses. So now we have new feature, expense budgeting, on the project with a new field called expense budget. You can create, again, proposal lines around expenses. And when a project is created and contracts are created, it will update, add to budget, which is a field in the contract, to update the expense budget based on the proposal expense budgets that you've created here. For those customers that are not using proposals today, of course, expense budgeting is available directly from the project as well. So when you create a project or create a project from a template, you can define what the expense budget is, not only the expense actual. So expense budgeting is new with the Summer 18 release. All right. So let's continue. We've talked about timeline. We've talked about the enhancements around proposals, specifically in handling milestones and expense budgeting, as well as with hours-based or fixed fee-based components within a proposal. So I'll just close that down. Okay, so let's continue. So I'm in another environment, as you can see here. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to navigate to the My Work page. So a brief or quick enhancement here is the card view, as you can see here, the Kanban view is now the default view on My Work. It used to be a page called the To-Do page that some on the call might be familiar with. We've actually deprecated that page from the application completely. So you are working from the card view or the Kanban view, which is by far the most popular view for our customers, where you still have access to the due date view as well as the calendar view of those tasks from My Work. And because of that fact, for those that have created custom sections, as you can see, I've created a custom section here called Backlog. The gear icon, where you can manage this custom section, including renaming it, deleting it, and so forth, is available now right from the My Work page. It used to be on the To-Do page, where you had to edit or delete that section, not on this card view. So now it's available directly from this card view as well. So a small but important change we've made on the My Work page itself. All right, so let's continue. We're going to go to My Projects, and I'm going to look up a project called Summer 18. And I've opened up my Summer 18 project, and I have my list of tasks and subtasks, as you can see here. So the first thing I want to show is if I click on a particular task, and I'm opening up my task right-hand panel here, and I'm going to go to the scheduling component, where I'm scheduling resources at a task level. We've included a new field here called Hold. All right, so this is similar to at a project level. When you create project assignments for people on projects, you can have people on those projects, or placeholders, if you will, in various statuses, if you will, hard booked or soft booked and so forth. So now we're including a similar component at a task level. So I'm assigning Babel in this example to a task, but I'm going to hold him, meaning that he's not hard booked on this task from a scheduling perspective. I'm just holding him on this task for now. And the reason why that's important is, number one, I can see that right here, but also I can also see that right on the resource planner as well. If I go and look at his task schedule, any task in this example, task scheduling that has hold checked here, will show in a different color. And then with this release, it is a specific color, which is a kind of a dark yellow color that showcases that this schedule assignment for Babel on this task and project is on hold. So you can visually see that, and that might mean that, well, he's only on hold, so I am actually going to schedule him on this other project versus him being hard booked and he doesn't have the ability to rearrange his schedule, as an example. So that's the hold flag. While I'm here, if I'm looking for more resources, to associate to this task, as you can see here, I still have a 32-hour variant, so I still need to assign 32 hours to this task. We've always had this search for resources, but now we have a new tab here, or button I should say, called Project Team. So what I can do is just click on the Project Team tab, and it's going to look at everyone that's already associated to this project, so project assignments for this project. And I can just quickly see, based on everyone that's on this project, who, by default of available hours, is available to take up this particular task. Now, as we've already had in this product, this available hours and scheduled hours is smart enough. It's actually looking at the available and scheduled hours between the task dates, the start date and duration of this particular task. So I'm narrowing this down automatically to say, well, what are the available hours for these resources already on this project during the duration of this task? And these available hours, by the way, are not only the available hours based on scheduling of this project. They're available hours based on every project and task that this resource is associated to. So I'm not double booking him as an example. It is calculating his availability based on his entire work across any or all projects that he is associated to. So the project team, again, allows me to just quickly view availability based on everyone that's already assigned the project. Now I can open that back up, and this functionality, of course, was available prior to this release, where I just want to open it up to everybody in my organization, and by default I can search by roles and skills, and you can see I had a skill of JavaScript already associated to this task, so it's defaulting in, and then I can search again, and it looks like, okay, AJ, he's available, he has that skill match, and he has available hours as well, so I just click this plus button, and he's going to be automatically associated to this task, and then I can go ahead and schedule him the appropriate hours. So that's another enhancement around task scheduling. Okay, so let's continue on. The next area that we're going to go to is some of the enhancements around the Gantt chart. So some really important and great enhancements specifically around the Gantt chart. So number one is drag and drop. So we used to have, or we've always had, drag and drop on the project task page, but now we have it on the Gantt chart page. So here I can just drag this task up above it. And as you can see here, I've dragged it up to a parent task to be above this other task. I can even drag it, and you can see here to create a subtask relationship as well. So drag and drop, and of course this will be saved, and when I go back to my project task page, it will already be there in the appropriate order based on what I've dragged and dropped directly on the Gantt chart. Right? So brand new, as well as we always had the functionality to, if I double click on this task, I can manage my predecessors and task details, enter time against the task as we've had before, and I can schedule resources on the task right from here as well. And by the way, one of the nice features here is as I'm working the Gantt, we still have this project team search for resources availability as well right from here. So even from the Gantt chart, I can immediately see who's available for this particular task during that task duration. But what I can also do is, if I just know immediately who I want to associate to this particular task, I can just double click here, and now you can see it includes inline editing. Oops, didn't mean to do that. It includes inline editing here, where I can just choose the appropriate resource to put on that particular task, okay, right from here as well. So another cool, if you will, but important feature for those especially that are existing Krow customers. So we've always, had dependencies and predecessors that you can see here, including lag days and so on. So I have a predecessor relationship with these three tasks here. And if I moved out this first task and dragged it out, it's going to automatically move out all of these dependent tasks, as you can see here. But what happens a lot of the time, and not necessarily from the Gantt chart, is I might be moving out a task right in the middle here. And this task, as you can see here, is called task 4, right? And not necessarily from the Gantt chart. What happens a lot of the times is the task might have been moved out on the project task page, or even on the My Work page, or on the task planner page. But the issue there is that I have a relationship here, a dependency, that says it's a finish to start dependency, and there's no lag days. So if I move this task out, if I came back to the Gantt chart, and this new task here was still on the Tuesday, and my dependency is still in place here, it's going to try to move this task 4 back to start right after this new task here on Tuesday, because I have that dependency in place, even though you might have changed task 4 to another date on another area of the application, such as My Work or on the project task page. So now what we're doing is, if I move this task that has a predecessor behind it, and I'm going to just try to drag right now, you're going to see here, it's going to give me a message that says if I manually change this start date, it's going to remove that predecessor relationship. And I can click OK. If I click cancel, it's not going to do anything. But if I click OK, it's going to remove that relationship. And then I can go ahead and just drag this task out. And of course, it's going to move that task that's starting after this task out, as I would expect. But because I moved task 4 out, I no longer have this relationship, a finish to start relationship with this task, because I moved this task out, 4 or 5 days in this example. Now, if I didn't want to break the relationship, I can go ahead and of course I can recreate that relationship, and I never would have just manually moved this task out. What I would have done is I would have actually just added a 4-day lag as an example with that preceding task, and now I would see that lag day being kept here. But in the example that I was showing you, you might have changed the task from another page, and you didn't want that task date to change when you access the Gantt, and scheduling took effect, if you will. So really, we're breaking that relationship because you've manually moved task 4 out to a different date. This task date's not going to change necessarily because it was completed already. So again, an enhancement from the Gantt chart. And the great part of this enhancement is that it will do this automatically, not only from the Gantt, but if I've changed the task date on my work or my project task page, when you come back to the Gantt, that task relationship, that dependency will be removed so that all of your task dates will not be impacted and will be exactly as you've scheduled them right from the project task page. So another key enhancement that we're delivering with the September 18 release. Okay, so let's look at another enhancement. I'm just going to cancel that. I'm going to go to another project called the Resource Search Project. So another key enhancement that we've done around resource planning and resource search, if you will. So what I'm going to do is I'm on this resource search project. I'm going to go to the plan page here. And what I can do now, and for those that are not familiar with Krow, I can schedule resources on this project, as you can see here, and I might have a placeholder that I want to exchange, if you will, for another resource. And there's a number of ways that you can do it within Krow. So as an example, if I know who the resource that I want to swap out is right now, I can just click on swap resource and I can select the resource to swap out for that resource. And by the way, it swaps them out not only on the project, but all the tasks that that resource has been assigned on the project as well. One of the other things that I can do is I can create a resource request. So this is an example of if your organization has kind of a central resource or resource planning area or department or person, if you will, that resources every project. I can create a centralized resource request. It creates a resource request, and someone can go in and go ahead and staff that. But now what we can do is, and this functionality is very similar to how the resource request works, is that, again, if I know or if I have the responsibility, such as a project manager, I can go ahead and swap this resource out directly, but I'm not sure who, and I want to look for the appropriate resource. I can just click on the resource name here, and it's going to bring me to the resource search page, if you will. And for those that are familiar with resource requests, this is basically the same functionality that we have in resource requests. So what it's going to do is it shows that I'm looking for resource 1. It's showing me my resource that I'm replacing up top here in the first row. And because I'm looking for a developer, the system has automatically filtered and shown me potentially available other developers by role within the organization. And I can go ahead and select right from here who I might want to compare or book, if you will, and replace on that project. But what I can do now is I can continue to filter by roles, by skills, by teams, by location. In this example, I'm just going to look by skill. Let me look under JavaScript, and I'm going to apply that filter. Oh, and it looks like a couple of people have come back. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select AJ and this other person, and I want to compare them. And I can take a look at these two resources, and I can see a number of different information points about them, such as what team or region or practice or location, what their skills and skills proficiency are, what their utilization target is, available hours, cost rate, and bill rates. And we can hide these rates, by the way, if you don't want any users to see those rates. I can even reach out to them using chatter, by phone, by email, and so forth. And if I found the appropriate resource and I'm ready to book them, I can just click on this book icon here, and it's going to replace that placeholder on the project and on the tasks automatically. So that's the enhancement around resource planning and searching directly from a project without having to create a dedicated resource request, if you will. All right. So now another key enhancement. I got lots to show, so I'm going to pick up speed here, if you will. Another key enhancement is around project cloning, as I mentioned. Okay, so I'm going to create a new project, and I'll call this webinar project. I'm going to create a new project, and I'm going to clone from a template. I'm just going to call this collapse tasks, and I'm going to clone the project team and clone the task assignees. And I'll put in a project start date here. Let's just say July 2nd, and click save. So now when you're cloning from a template, it's going to bring up this cloning box, dialog box here, just so you can visually see what's going on right now as we're cloning this project. It's cloning tasks and assignments and so forth. And of course, it'll take a little bit longer depending on the size or the number of tasks that you have within a project. But here you can see I have my clone project that I created, and I can see the task dates here. And what you'll notice here is I have some different task start dates, even though I had a particular project start date. And for those, again, that are familiar with Krow, before we used to require on the template, as an example, that you had predecessors or dependencies in place to determine what the potential task start date would be. One new feature that we have here is if I just open up this task, is we have a new field here called relative start days. All right. So what this means is, and you can use this on project templates, you can use this when you import projects, is what it's going to look at is it's stating when is the start time of, or the start date, if you will, of any tasks relative to the project start date when the project is created based on the project start date of the new project that you're creating. Right? And it doesn't require dependencies and predecessors. And by the way, if you do have dependencies and predecessors in place, those, once the project is created, of course, will override the relative start dates, because that's just a starting point for the project. But you don't require that. So as an example, just a brief example, is that maybe I want to have a status meeting task on a project that happens every 30 days in my project. So you can set up those various tasks with a relative start date of the first of each month, 30 days from the relative start date, 60 days, 90 days, 120 days, and so forth. And when you create that project start date on August 1st, as an example, relative start date on the first task might be 30 days, and then the second is 60 days, and so forth. It will automatically create those task dates for you based on the relative start dates within the project itself. Right? So that's the new project cloning feature to give you visibility into what's happening as the project is created, as well as the relative start dates functionality. Very quickly, although I'm running out of time, I know, is let me take a look at this project if I can. One of the things that we've done, and I'm just going to go down here and click Load All Tasks, and hopefully you can see one of the things that we've also done within this release is focus on performance for larger projects. So I just open up every task on this project. You can see it was fairly quick, and this project actually has 590 tasks in it. Okay, and if I go ahead and navigate to the Gantt chart as well, and it's going to open up my Gantt chart now, and again, 590 tasks within this particular Gantt chart. So a focus on performance and scalability as well with the Summer 18 release. All right, so we've talked a lot about some project enhancements in Summer 18 release. Let's move on to my timesheet. So a lot of great enhancements around my timesheet. Okay, so the first is some smaller ones as well. You might notice this project task field here is a little bit wider than normal. That's because I customized it. We have a new custom setting now where you can customize the length by pixel length that you can put into a custom setting of what you want the project task field to be. And the reason being is that if you had very large project names or task names, it might cut off on the display here, although it's always on hover available, as you can see now. But for those that just want to see it here on the display without being cut off, you can modify what the display length of that field is. Another enhancement, you can see here, I have the billable flag on my timesheet, but it is read-only. So not only can you include the billable flag or not include the billable flag, but I can now make the billable flag read-only on this page here. So one of the things I'm going to show as well is you can also enable this component right here on the timesheet. And what this is showing me is, me as a user, while I'm entering in time, when I pick a particular project and task dynamically, it's going to show me how many hours I've been scheduled, how many billable hours that I've logged against this particular task, so what's my variable. And it will be updating in real time as an example, I put in another hour and click Save. It's updated automatically for me, so I can see where I'm at as far as my time against this particular task. In this release, we're really focused on scheduled versus billable. And if you've got multiple users assigned a task, they will each see their own scheduled time on that particular task. Another enhancement I'll just mention quickly that I'm not going to be showing today is we also have another enhancement to actually stop the submission of time if it's over the estimated hours on the project overall. So that's another enhancement that we've included. Before I go any further, though, what I'm going to show, another quick enhancement, is Jira in the time integration. We've had Jira integration before around projects and tasks and issue synchronization, but now with the Summer 18 release, we're including time integration. So you can see here, this came from Jira. It's bi-directional time integration, by the way. I've got 2.25 hours here, 1 hour here. So what I'm going to do is just switch over to my Jira environment, and hopefully I'm still logged in here. And for the same task, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add another 2 hours, but it's going to be on Tuesday the 5th. And I'll just enter in my timesheet notes here, and I'm going to go ahead and log that time. Okay. And if everything worked out in my demo, let me just refresh my page here. And here it is right here. Here's my, against this project task, here's my 2 hours, and here's my note as well. So bi-directional timesheet integration, we're creating the timesheet detail, timesheet split, synchronization. It will show up in the timesheet, and the user can continue to submit if they have that formal timesheet submission process. Another enhancement, copy from schedule button. So now we have the ability, if I click on this, it's going to copy all the tasks and task schedules for that resource for that particular week, as an example, and automatically default this into my timesheet as a starting point. And there's the option I can just default in the project and tasks only without the scheduled time, or I can, of course, in my example here, I can default in the projects and tasks with the scheduled time based on the task schedule assignments directly within my timesheet. And then finally, a brief example, but if I'm entering in a new time, and let me just pick a project here. I'll pick my, what project do I want? I'll pick my Summer 18 project. Now you can see there's an option to collapse any subtasks as I'm selecting tasks. That was another enhancement request. By default, they're expanded like this, but you can collapse, especially if you have a large number of subtasks within your project as well. All right, so that's timesheet enhancements. Project task field length, billable time, copy from task schedule, timesheet integration with Jira, billable read-only I mentioned, collapse tasks by default, warn against or stop against project estimated hours, all delivered with the Summer 18 release. Okay, so let's briefly move on. The other one that I wanted to show just very quickly, small enhancement, but important enhancement, is for those that are using expenses and possibly mileage or other rate-based expense types. We used to have, or we always had, if you will, what's called expense rates, and it was always effective dated, so you can effective date expense rate changes, but they were global in nature, if you will. So now we've added the project lookup here on an expense rate. So you can define or you can create expense rates that are project specific. You might have a mileage rate that's only for a particular project versus a general mileage rate used within your organization. So you can set that up as well. So as an example, when an individual is entering in an expense line for mileage, if it is a specific project rate, when they select the project on the expense, it will automatically use that rate. Otherwise, it might use a default rate that's not associated with a project. So small but important enhancement with expenses. All right, let's move on. Billing types. As I mentioned, 2 new billing types. I'll just edit this record to show you. In addition, before we had immediate or fixed fee, time and expense, installment, recurring, fixed fee. We now include 2 new billing methods within the Summer 18 release, percentage complete and retainer. And we'll continue to enhance these over time. They are delivered with a certain level of functionality within the Summer 18. So percentage complete first. What does that mean? That means that you're going to bill based on the percentage of complete of the project at the time of billing. And as an example, you will bill 1 month and the project's at 10% complete. It will look at the budgeted revenue or expected revenue for the project and bill 10% of that if 10% was complete on the project. Now, of course, you can we've always had different methods of determining how the percentage complete on the project is calculated, so that will continue to impact how the percentage complete is calculated. And then when you get to month 2, and it's 20% complete, the system, of course, already knows that 10% has been invoiced. So there's a delta of 10% based on a current 20% completion, and the delta of 10%, if you will be ready for billing. So that's percentage of complete. The other one is retainer. So with this release, you can create retainers, and similar to recurring billing type, you can create retainers that are weekly, monthly, or annually in this release. And those retainers can be amount-based and or hours-based retainers. And I'm setting up defaults at the billing type level. Of course, you can not set up defaults, and you can just manually enter them in at the project billing line record when the project is created, or of course you can override that from the default. So I'm just showing you if you set up defaults at a billing type level. But here what I can do is say that this billing method is going to be a retainer. I do want to bill on overage. If this was not checked, even though there was, or they went over the retainer amount, we would not bill. But if you select this, we will bill on overage of that retainer. And I can say that I want to bill on an overage of hours, which is 50 hours in this example. Okay, if I did not have this checked, it will bill on overage of the retainer amount, whether it be an amount by weekly, monthly, or annually. But in this case, it had an hours overage amount. In this example here, if you create a retainer, a monthly retainer for 50 hours, it will bill on a standard time and expense method until 50 hours is reached. And if only 40 hours was billed or was entered, if you will, on that particular month, we're still billing 50 hours because that is what the retainer says, to bill a minimum of 50 hours with respect to that retainer. But if you enter in 60 hours, we are going to bill 60 hours, and we're going to bill the 50-hour retainer as well as the additional 10 hours at this success rate here. Okay, so we're billing at a default rate when that overage occurs for those particular 10 hours in my example. If it was amount based, we're going to bill the so as an example, if you had this and this not populated, and we're billing at an amount base. So as an example, you had a 5,000 a month retainer. You bill time and expense as an example of 6,000. We are going to bill the 5,000 retainer and the 1,000 excess of retainer on two fixed fee billing lines on the project. So that's retainer billing as well as percentage complete billing, which is new with the Summer 18 release. Okay, next, let me go to an invoice and some key enhancements around invoicing. Actually, before I go to the invoice, let me go to this page here. And this project status mapping tab is going to be changing and relabeled to Krow status mapping. And the reason being is that we've also included a new section here called invoice due dates. So we have a payment method or payment schedule, if you will, on the invoice. And we deliver values such as net 15, net 30, net 45, net 60 upon receipt. You can modify that pick list value, and you can add in anything you like. If you've got net 90 or net 30, whatever it may be, anything different than what we deliver, and it will dynamically show up on this page here. And then you can set the number of days within your payment schedule, as you can see here. And the payment schedule can be alphanumeric. That's why we need to represent what the days are here. And why this is important is that we also have a due date field on the invoice, and we will automatically populate that due date based on the payment terms and the calculated days here. And we are sending that over in a number of our accounting integrations, such as QuickBooks and Xero and so forth, based on the invoice due date and the number of days that you have specified here for payment terms. So another enhancement for invoicing with the Summer 18 release. All right. Now, we're looking at a particular invoice, and I'm going to talk about two enhancements that we're delivering as part of the invoice, if you will, with Summer 18. The first one is discounting, and the second one is a flag called Show All Hours. So the first one, discounting, we've included a new field called discount percentage. So you can specify an invoice is created, and you are giving a discount to a client for a particular reason, and you can specify the discount percentage here, and it's going to show that a dollar amount calculated on the invoice prior to tax being applied, and then the total being applied as well. And I'm going to show you an example of that. The other one Another key feature is called show all hours. So what this means is, as an example for retainer, you're billing on 50 hours even though you might have consumed 60 hours. So what you want to show on the invoice is you're billing for 50, but you want to show that your resources actually completed 60 hours of work. So as an example, you can say show all hours, and it will show all 60 hours even though you're billing for 50 hours on the invoice itself. And this works across any billing type, by the way, but it is here to check, if you will, on this invoice. And this will default in from the regular settings like organization, as an example. All right. And if I take a look at this invoice, so here I can see that I actually billed for 15 hours, but this resource accumulated 16 hours. And if I looked at the resource hours, it would show 16 here as well because I'm showing all hours. Furthermore, that equaled $800 based on the 15 hours, but I have applied a 25% discount here of 200, and my total is 600 in this example. Okay, and where it says discount here, if you want to modify this to say discount 25% and so forth, these are all have labels behind them. You can go ahead and do that as well. We're almost done. So final enhancement that I'm going to show today is around the Slack integration. So let me just pause just for a moment and move over to my Slack environment. And sorry, 1 minute. Okay, so I'm now in Slack, and we introduced our Slack integration prior to the Summer 18 release, but with the Summer 18 release, we've now included a dedicated Slack bot, as you can see here, an app that is deployed directly in your Slack environment with a number of new features such as these direct buttons here to complete various activities. So as an example, I'm in my Slack, and for those users of Slack, all of my channels are showing here, and I've clicked on my Slack app, and I can do a number of things. So the first thing I'm going to do is I can click on the /Krow, and it's just going to show me a number of things that I can do in my Slack app, if you will, for Krow, such as natural language search, such as show my tasks, show my completed tasks, my not started tasks, my in progress tasks, show my projects, my in progress projects, and so forth. I can create a new project and create a new task. I can also create time, as an example, log in and log out. So first thing I'll show is, let's say, show me just my projects, right? So just by entering this, it's going to automatically bring back my projects, and I can see specific information such as the name of the project, the status. I can link right to Krow and go right to that project detail. I can show more project detail, which I'll do in a moment. I can even log project time right from here as well. So if I click on show project detail, it's going to show me additional information such as billable hours, total logged hours, percentage complete, expected revenue, billable amount, invoiced amount, and so forth. I can create a task right from this project, right for this project as well, right from Slack, if you will, and enter a due date in here. Just close that down. Maybe I want to say show my in progress tasks. And here, it's going to show me all my tasks, as you can see here, that are in progress. And I can log task time right from here. I worked on this for 1 hour and 30 minutes. I'll click save. It's going to create timesheet entry right in Krow. It will give me a message once that's completed and updated in Krow, so it just takes a minute to come back. What I can also do is I can mark these tasks complete right from here as well. Okay. I can also create a project or create a task. You can see time log successfully came up here as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and try that again. And here's where I can create a new project, and I can enter the project name, start date, billable, right from Slack. And actually, I can do this Slack webinar project and put in a date here. And yep, this is going to be a billable project, and click create. And again, once this project's created, it will come back and show me that as well. I can also, you can see project has been created here. I can see the project details, and I can link right to that project in Krow. And then finally, I can create a new task right in Slack as well. So with the Krow Slack bot, I can review my projects, my tasks, complete tasks, see project details, create projects, create tasks, mark complete, and so forth, right from Slack with real-time integration, bi-directional integration, by the way. I can create projects and update project and tasks in Salesforce, and they will be updated in Slack as well. So that concludes the demonstration today. Hopefully you found it useful. Hopefully you're excited about everything that's coming in the Summer 18 release scheduled for the end of this month. We're really excited about the continued innovation that we're going to be delivering with customers. For more information, please feel free to reach out to us at krowsoftware.com or 1-844-GET-KROW. You can find us on the Salesforce App Exchange as well. Thanks everyone for attending today. Hope to hear from you soon. Everyone that participated today will receive a copy of not only the presentation, but also the recording of the webinar. Thanks again. Hope you have a great day.